Okay, so today we have with us Jen Cushman. She's a 4-H Extension educator at the University of Connecticut, and Darlene Ewell, the Farm Education Manager at the 4-H Education Center at our farm. And the 4-H Education Center there is a 120-acre educational farm in Bloomfield, Connecticut, and they provide STEM education with enhanced ag literacy to 13,000 4-H youth visits every year. The presenters will discuss how these unique programs and partnerships that students engage with on the farm and the impact and outcomes of this national award-winning program will also be shared. So thank you so much for presenting with us today. Let me go ahead and unmute you. Okay.
Okay, all right. Hey everyone, good afternoon, or good morning if you're farther west. So I'm Jen Cushman, and as Autumn said, I'm the Hartford County 4-H Extension educator, and I work closely out here at the farm with our 4-H program implementation, with our farm production, and I also collaborate on the educational programming. I have a bachelor's in animal science and a master's in curriculum and instruction and a 6th year in educational leadership, and over 20 years of experience with the 4-H program, including 7.5 years as a high school agri-science education teacher as well.
Okay, and my name is Darlene Ewell. I'm the farm education manager here at our farm, which is what we call it for short because the rest of it is a mouthful. So I grew up on a dairy farm, and then I left to get my bachelor's in sports medicine, really with no plans to return to agriculture, but you can see how well that worked out for me. So I spent a couple of years working in sustainable ag in Central America, and then I got my master's in public health, which is when I started the New York State Farm to Preschool program, merging my public health degree with my background in agriculture. And so I came to our farm with a renewed passion for agriculture and building those important relationships with the land.
So the 4-H Education Center at our farm was originally founded in the early 20th century. By the 1950s, it was a model farm, and it was owned at that time by Mrs. Beatrice Fox Auerbach. And Mrs. Auerbach achieved national prominence in the 1930s as the first female president of the leading department store, G. Fox and Company. She had a strong business sense, she engaged in humanitarian work practices, and she also loved philanthropy. She came to the farm in 1927 to run it when her husband passed away. And after 2 years of buying the farm, she actually had to take over the operation leadership despite no knowledge of farming. So for 40 years, she managed the 230-acre our farm with 3 production divisions, dairy with Guernsey cattle, poultry with more than 20,000 chickens, and apples with 300 trees. It was an operation that included the latest technology. Milk was processed on the farm, and then milk, eggs, and other farm products were sold within the G. Fox department stores. And there were 9 homes on the property which housed farm families, and dormitory housed seasonal employees as well. By the beginning of the 1970s, the herd of cattle were donated to the University of Connecticut, and all the chickens went to market. And the apple orchard was the only remaining operation on the property. At that time, the 4-H clubs of Hartford County had more than 1,000 members, and they created an orchard partnership, which was formed between the 4-H club and the Auerbach family. At that point, Mrs. Auerbach had been deceased, and the family was owning the property. The 4-H club had full use of the orchard, including the sales room, as long as they maintained the orchard. And so club members with their 4-H leaders had a project within the apple orchard, pruning, spraying, mowing, harvesting, grading, and selling the apple crop. In 1976, the property, 120 acres, was gifted to the Connecticut 4-H Development Fund. And today, the Connecticut 4-H Development Fund operates the farm as the 4-H Education Center at our farm as a 4-H nonprofit organization in partnership with the University of Connecticut. And from 1976 to 2007, UConn 4-H staff and farm employees ran the educational program at the farm until 2008, when the first executive director was hired.
All right, so I'm going to share with you a little bit about our outdoor learning spaces. So we currently use the full 120 acres as educational space. We're also surrounded by a 40-acre state park and the forests of a water reservoir, which is just on the other side of the hill. So our farm is truly unique in that way. The 4-H Education Center, Our Farm, strives to ensure children and adults engage in, learn about, and enjoy agriculture, science, and the natural environment. This is especially important as we're situated between one of the poorest cities and one of the wealthiest suburbs in the United States. So our goal is to really bring the farm to a diverse audience of pre-K through college students. We focus on providing an authentic farm experience so that when they engage with farm staff, they're touching animals, they're leaving with dirt under their fingernails. Yes, we do ask them to wash their hands. And with a better understanding of how tomatoes grow and that fabulous taste that they have in the summertime. So we're unique because of our 120 acres that we use as a classroom. We teach about farm production and help students connect to their food sources using various gardens and animals. We have sheep, goats, beef cattle, one miniature Jersey, rabbits, chickens, ducks, alpaca, donkeys, and lots of wild animals. We have a large blueberry patch that we use for picking in the summertime with our programs. We have several children's gardens, 3 types of beehives, a sugar bush and sugar shack, a large apple orchard, not as large as when Beatrice ran it, but we still have about 70 trees. We have a 40-foot greenhouse utilized by Yukon Master Gardeners. And we have a newly installed 72-foot high tunnel. We have a play space in the woods where children can explore and move loose parts, 12 acres in production, and 4 indoor classrooms.
So many days, the 4-H Education Center at Our Farm is at full capacity with both indoor and outdoor spaces being used. The former state-of-the-art dairy barn has been converted into 2 classrooms with a divider wall, which opened in 2014. And these spaces are pictured on the top left of your screen and can be utilized for events and large auditorium-style programs. The Science Center, pictured in the top right, provides immediate access to demonstration gardens and classroom space and serves as an additional space for our programs. The outdoor pavilion enables students to engage in learning while being immersed in nature, and the space doubles as a family, school event, fundraiser, and special event function space. And then the Learning Center, which is in your lower right corner, with the adjoining commercial kitchen, provides a space especially for culinary and food science lessons.
Okay, so we're going to take a brief look at our community reach and demographics. So you can see here from the map on the left, and that I previously mentioned, we are uniquely located just 10 minutes from Hartford, which is the capital of Connecticut. And while the map does contain most of the state of Connecticut, it's not all of it, but we are a small state. It is New England. But this positions us to work with all types of communities, urban, suburban, and rural, in almost every race and ethnicity that exists in the state of Connecticut. We engage with students and families from 25 different towns that you see here surrounding the farm and multiple schools within each of those towns. And as we already know, there's a great need for people to connect with nature and their food sources. We provide agri-science lessons that do just that for students. The majority of our visitors are preschool to first grade, but we do have students all the way up to college. But you can see from the graph on the right that when combined, the students of color make up a larger percentage of visitation than their white counterparts. This is a pretty representative sample from the communities surrounding the farm. And this data really helps us to form our lesson plans to be culturally appropriate. Okay, so we're going to take a look at our core school enrichment programs. So I'll take just a couple of minutes to give you an idea of the range of the schools that we work with our core enrichment programs. And here are some examples that are vastly different. So Winterberry Early Childhood Magnet School was established as a farm school, which is key for the learning that we see. So we built the curriculum with the school staff, and they come to the school or they come to the farm, sorry, they come to the farm 3 consecutive days every week. And so each classroom is here at least once a month for a different lesson. And one of the things that is really unique about working with the school is we have developed a lot of pre and post activities with their teachers. And so you can see an example of this in the picture on the bottom left, which is back at working in one of the school gardens. So the students are journaling about the plants growing in the courtyard. They appear to be watermelons. So with the pre and post activities, the students come primed for learning when they're here at the farm for their experiential learning, and then they follow up with hands-on extension activities at the school. And then the one in the middle is Annie Fisher Montessori School. So that's a middle school program from the city of Hartford. And they have both suburban and urban students at their school. It's an interesting mix of students at the Montessori school. And they have had a relationship with the farm for about 3 years. And they spend 13 weeks on the farm over the course of the school year, coming a week at a time. And they really focus on STEM projects while they're here. As you can see, Aaliyah is in the process of building a chicken tractor so that the chickens for their poultry project will have access to fresh pasture for foraging while staying safe from predators. And then on the far right, you can see children running over mounds of wood chips. Who knew that they would be so exciting? But these are truly farm explorers. So we have 26 preschool classrooms that participate in the Farm Explorer program. We find that when children first come to the farm, they're overly stimulated and find it challenging to enjoy the environment and really learn what's happening while they're here. So to help with this nature deficit disorder, we schedule the classrooms to come to the farm 4 times for instructional programming, 1 time for a self-guided visit, where they come with their teachers and they spend the time on the farm exploring the spaces on their own. And then we have a family picnic at the end of the year. So this structure helps to increase students' self-efficacy of engaging in a natural environment. And then parents also come as chaperones throughout the year and are also more comfortable being on the farm by the end of the year. These things all help to build lifelong learning with our visitors.
So in addition to the formal school programs that we offer, we also have field trips that youth engage in as classroom trips, summer camp field trips, or as a member of a youth group. And we have a 4-H club and 4-H events that are held year-round and provide space for leadership development and exhibition of projects. Birthday parties occur throughout the year on the farm, and they are 1-hour educational presentations for the participants at the party, and they can be based on a seasonal program or a year-round topic of interest. In addition, during the summertime, we have week-long programming that's available so youth can see on an entire full-day schedule what the operations of the farm look like, and they can assist in engaging in those operations and learning about agriculture throughout the summer. Our adult and family education programs, some have included beekeeping and knitting. So we look to also engage parents and families in those programs and further their lifelong learning in agriculture. And then our seasonal community programs include the annual Fall Festival, the Summer Blueberry Jam, and those can bring upwards of 3,000 visitors in a 1-day basis to the farm for outdoor learning, hay rides, picking blueberries, and animal encounters. Our 4-H STEM program topics really do vary based on the participant's age, the school curriculum needs, the season of the visit, the needs of the students, and the length of the time that the participants are on the farm. And they're all aligned to state and national standards. We do incorporate 4-H curriculum on the different topics as well. And you can see from the wide range of topics in this list that there are many different aspects of programming delivered through the diverse range of programs on the farm. And we do integrate a number of the different facilities that we have on the farm, and really use that as a selling point to our participants, that it's important that they can teach these topics in the classroom, but being out on the farm and able to engage in the outdoors for these topics certainly makes for a more engaging lesson for participants and students, and promotes a stronger learning.
All right, so we're going to give you a little slideshow here on some of our programs in action. So you can see here our Pollinator Power program, and the young students will don their wings and eagerly pollinate the flowers around the farm. So they'll go from flower to flower and plant to plant, learning just how the bees and butterflies and other insects that pollinate help us to grow our food. And usually, if available, they'll spend some time with our apiarist, inspecting the hives, and if they're lucky, tasting a little bit of honey right from the comb. And then they also have the opportunity to search for the queen in our observation hive, which is in the upper right-hand corner there. This has a home in our maple sugar shack. So the bees are not in there in the wintertime, because that is when we're doing maple sugaring, and it's too cold in there for them, but it is a sweet place to be in all seasons. And our programs are, yes, literacy focused, but literacy is not just about words. The students, when they come here, are of course exposed to a whole new vocabulary, and with those words, we help them to understand the relationships to agriculture. So how did their mittens get from the alpaca to their hands? What environment do those alpaca live in, and what do they eat? How do their hooves change the land versus a large beef cow or a pig? And so these questions of wonder are ones that we explore throughout the year to build a stronger relationship from the farm to their home. And so we're currently in the maple sugaring season, and we introduce many different types of technology that can change the process. We introduce different types of technology that show the change in process of how liquid comes from a tree when it's about 97% water and becomes a golden and delicious syrup for pancakes. These relationships are cultivated through experiential learning and will hopefully generate excitement to learn more. So in these pictures, you can see from left to right, the students are sorting lavender. So they go out to our lavender patch, they'll pick, and then they're sorting by length, and then they'll go through and strip off the flowers, which we'll use later on to make little satchels. And then in the middle, you see just a piece of a pollinator mural. So the students will go out as part of their day and find pieces of nature that they want to include in their mural, and then come back and draw their own story of pollination. And then on the very right, you can see one of our master gardeners giving a lesson on the parts of a plant to a youth group before they start to seed and transplant seedlings. And so it is currently winter here in Connecticut, and that certainly doesn't stop us from learning in the dead of winter. In fact, the farm is far from sleepy. In the wintertime, we do a lot of searching for scat and tracks in animal homes. And so they will spend the time here outside, as long as the weather is not super crazy, searching for those signs of wild animals, and then they'll head to the animal barn to compare their homes and tracks. And then in the classroom, when they have a little bit of time to do some journaling, they can talk about their adventures in picture and words. And so you can see here, the student has documented their learning with a story that reads, "Look at that scat. It is brown. It is fox scat. It is dirty. Do you touch it? No, you do not touch it. Yuck, do not touch it." So that was one of our preschoolers that has provided a little feedback for us there around scat. And as I mentioned, we spend time maple sugaring. It's one of our most popular programs. This lesson includes tools which students utilize when they drill into tree stumps and tap the stump with a spile. We discuss removing water through reverse osmosis, which is a challenging concept for 4-year-olds, but we talk about filtration, and evaporation, which is fueled by a wood fire, which you can see in this picture. Also at the top of the maple sugaring picture, you can see we do a little counting as well and include some math in there. And we count all the way up to 40 gallons, which it takes to make 1 gallon of syrup, which is a lot of syrup for pancakes.
So the 4-H Education Center at our farm is an integrated component of the 4-H of Hartford County and within Yukon Extension. The 4-H Education Center hosts a 4-H club that meets twice a week on the property, and youth have the opportunity to work on various projects using the farm's resources. Other county clubs also use the space for events, meetings, and programs. Our farm 4-H members participate in the county 4-H fair, and depicted in this picture are 2 club members who are entering their watermelons at the annual fair in August. 4-H county events such as the 4-H Nutrition and Food Show, monthly county 4-H Fair Association meetings, and other 4-H committee meetings are hosted in the farm's facilities. 4-H clubs engage in 4-H fundraisers during special events, and ongoing promotion of the 4-H occurs as people visit the farm, pass by the farm sign, and attend events. And various collaborations occur with other extension partners, such as the County Extension Council, Master Gardeners, Junior Master Gardeners, Healthy Homes Educators, and Extended Food and Nutrition Education programs. In addition, volunteers from the 4-H Education Center at our farm are recognized as part of the Yukon 4-H Volunteer Recognition Program. Lastly, the County 4-H Educator is integrated into the operation of the 4-H Education Center as an ex officio board member, a member of the executive, production, and education committees.
Okay, so we're just gonna take a quick look at our collaborations. First and foremost, our major collaborators are our local schools and summer camps. Each year, our student count increases through these ongoing relationships. As schools are able to spend less money on off-campus learning, we have to find new and innovative ways to meet the needs of the community that support us, so we can continue to support them. So you can see we have a variety of partners here that range state, local, regional, and some really interesting partners. So we provide, as I've said previously, we provide learning experiences for people of all ages and all abilities. We currently are developing an agribusiness project with a post-secondary transition school. The school provides job training opportunities for students 18 to 21 with intellectual disability. So at the farm, we're partnering to install a high tunnel for seasonal growing, which will support the culinary program on their campus while providing us a new educational space for our visiting schools, but most importantly, preparing these 18 to 21-year-olds for life after they age out of the program at the age of 21. And so these types of collaborations really allow us to build strong community relationships, increase awareness of the farm, and ultimately improve ag literacy of everyone that visits. And so we're going to move into impact and evaluation. In our partnerships with the schools, as I had mentioned before, we're really able to take a deep dive into the curriculum and continually revise it based on the outcomes that we see, both qualitative, quantitative, and informal. And so my staff works closely with the schools, school teachers, and curriculum developers to build and revise lesson plans that emphasize pre- and post-visit learning. The students come primed to the farm, having already engaged in the topic, and then once they're back at the school, they continue those extension activities on that topic throughout the week and beyond for the entire school year. So each lesson is reviewed, critiqued, and revised for the following year, and then new lessons are developed as needed. We recently had a public school come to us and wanted to add on all of their second grade classrooms to come for pollinators. So we're in the process of working on that with them. So schools are, as you see on the right, they're able to measure outcomes compared with other schools in the district. So these reports have shown measurable change in STEM learning and school readiness from classrooms that spend instructional hours at the farm. For example, the preschool that comes to the farm 3 times a week shows significant school readiness outcomes. The reports indicate proficiency in math and reading that is easily 10% over goal, and 96% of the students with above average or average vocabulary. And so this data, along with the wait list the school has, proves that ag literacy is a selling point for both public and private schools. And additionally, we collect informative qualitative data from program participants and 4-H club families. We currently have a wait list for our 4-H program, and that continues to grow annually. Informal feedback is an important part of our evaluation, and we especially love receiving giant thank you banners from our youth programs that have visited, which we proudly display in our office.
So another element to today's presentation is we were asked to speak about applying for the Excellence in Ag Literacy Award and the importance of submitting an NAE 4-H award in participating in the award program. So this is an opportunity to build credibility within the community and among stakeholders that participate in your program, that your peers have reviewed your program and find it worthy of an excellence award. It is also an opportunity to share ideas with your peers, recognize the efforts of yourself and your team members, and also for those who seek promotion, tenure, or reappointment, an opportunity to demonstrate award-winning programming. This year, NAE 4-HA moved to a new online portal, which based on my personal experiences thus far has been very positive. And I recognize that it does take time to put together an award application, and sometimes it's a challenge to carve out that time within our busy schedules to do these kinds of things for ourselves within our profession. But I think it is important that just as we encourage our youth participants to seek evaluations on their own projects and compete for awards, that we should be doing the same as professionals. So our team approach to completing the award application began early with reviewing the award criteria, then summarizing the programs in our narrative, and then adding photo pages that showed the impact of what we were doing in the narrative. And it's truly a true statement that a photo is worth 1,000 words. And we found that including these photo pages really enhances the impact of the words in the narrative and tells the story for the reader and reviewer what the full project encompasses. So we'd like to provide you with our contact information, and we welcome further inquiries about the program and visits to the farm. And we'd like to thank you for joining us today to learn more about the 4-H Youth Ag Literacy Program at the 4-H Education Center at our farm.
Thank you so much, Jen and Darlene. That was wonderful. Does anybody have any questions for them? Feel free to message me when you're set up to, in the chat, you're set up to message me directly, and then I can ask them your questions. Thank you for sharing a little bit about the process for the applications. That was really helpful. And I love your sample photo page. That's really great. And I think that does speak volumes for the work that you do, because you only get a few pages to kind of describe your programs. So
definitely.
And we'll share their contact information with our follow-up email that we send out, and we'll work to get the recording up on the website. So if anybody has any questions that they don't get in here in the next couple minutes, because I know you might be typing, feel free to, you can email Jen and Darlene directly. I have one question so far. What would you recommend as a starting point if someone wanted to do a program like this?
So I would say probably your best bet is to reach out to a local school that may have an interest, and to start to build those relationships if you don't have a relationship with them already. And obviously you need some kind of space. So I'm assuming that this theoretically assumes that there's space to complete a program like this. So I would just say reach out to the school, find out what they're using for their core standards and science curriculum, and just build something off of that.
I think starting the communication early on in the process and just continuously having those lines of communication open, having, you know, yourself or whoever the other staff might be working with the program, engaging early on in the process and the planning really seems to help to build successful programming from our experience.
What is your favorite program that you offer?
Oh, that's a really hard question. I personally like the maple sugaring program, even though we teach it 5,000 times in the 6 weeks that the sap is flowing, because it really includes agriculture, technology, energy, tons of science, and we're using the farm in a time when it necessarily wouldn't be, people wouldn't think of it as a prime time for the farm.
I would have to say my personal favorite is our 4-H club, and just being able to informally engage with those youth and their individual projects, and to see them grow for such a long span of time as they continue to return year after year. I really enjoy that level.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Really appreciate it. Like I said, if anybody else has any questions that you think of after, you know, we conclude, you know, we'll send out their contact information and you can email them. So I'm going to go ahead and stop recording now.